There is a theory going around that the happenings within Ubisoft are not what they seem, that there may be secondary motivations to some of these things. This was first put out like back in the summer when rumors of a potential Ubisoft merger or acquisition were coming out. And then they kind of died down. But then with everything that happened with the announcement of the ExDefiant shutdown, people started to think that maybe there was something to this theory. And basically, it's pretty simple, okay? Put yourself in the position of somebody that owns a company, okay? You own the company. You have a lot of power over the company. And one of your buddies who also owns a big chunk in the company is talking with you and saying, hey, we could buy this out. We could do this. But if we're going to buy out this whole company, we need to get that share price down as low as we can so that we can buy it for as cheap as we can. If you were that person, how would you get the stock price to drop? How would you get the price lower so you could potentially acquire it for the cheapest possible? Maybe you would cancel franchises and projects that look to be making a lot of money. Maybe you would continue to have endless projects that seemingly are going nowhere greenlit. Maybe you would refuse to do layoffs so that your profitability margins are in the toilet. Maybe you would delay projects out of their holiday release windows and to the point where you're spending tens of millions of dollars extra to polish it, but also pushing it out of that holiday release window when most of the sales probably would have come as a result of holiday purchases. You probably start doing stuff like that to see the stock price drop to be able to scoop it up for cheap, right? That's the theory, at least. That's what people are theorizing. Vitek back on December 9th had an interesting thread about this, saying, first of all, the real reason ExDefiant was shut down is because Ubisoft is intentionally undervaluing its IP for a potential shareholder buyout at a reduced cost, and ExDefiant was one of the IP they wanted to get rid of. Basically, they are sending it to the shredder because they want the share price to be low so that they can scoop it up a little bit better. The claim is also backed up by the fact that there is a public 8-page document by one of Ubisoft's long-term investors, AJ Investments, which points out that Ubisoft is in fact doing all of this for a potential shareholder buyout. The same document calls for the resignation of Ubisoft CEO and asks for Ubisoft to go private. To be clear, AJ Investments has been very, very vocal for a long time about all of this. They are passionately opposed to modern leadership within Ubisoft. But in this document, they basically go through all this stuff where they say, they outline like what happened with Tencet and all that. They say the current strategic direction under the Guillemot family's leadership has led to repeated delays and missed opportunities, which have resulted in significant financial underperformance. Share price of Ubisoft have also decreased by over 40% over the last year. We suggest that Ubisoft allow shareholders to vote for a new CEO and allow the sale of the business to a private equity group, or let the Guillemot-led consortium to buy out minorities for a fair price. And they continue going through this. The control exercised in September of 2022 by Tencet and the Guillemot family has effectively blocked potential acquisitions and partnerships that could have been beneficial for the company and its shareholders. More recently, in 2022, private equity firms such as KKR and Blackstone expressed interest in acquiring Ubisoft, but were unable to proceed due to existing agreements that prevent any single entity from gaining control without the Guillemot family or Tencent's consent, which this pattern of blocking potential acquisitions has prevented much needed restructuring and revitalization that will benefit all stakeholders of Ubisoft, which is absolutely true. They have intentionally avoided any of that because the Guillemot family wants to retain control. As you can see in this, they also have a little chart that they outline here. Enhance. Voila. Tencent bought 5% stake at around 66 euros per share back in March of 2018. Okay. Tencent invested another 300 million euros into the Guillemot family holding company at 80 euros per share valuation. Stock price starts to plummet. Guillemot Brothers Limited bought 4 million shares, 3.5% of outstanding Ubisoft shares at 19 euros. So the stock price plummets and they scoop up even more control during that time. As it's dropping in value, they're gaining more and more control. We believe that the Guillemot family and Tencent are discounting potential value of Ubisoft in order to buy more shares at lower valuation and eventually take full control of the company at a heavily discounted valuation. We value the great work that has been done by the Guillemots over the decades in Ubisoft, but now is time to move on and restart the business with a new shareholder approach and new management/CEO. This would happen on February 1st, 2023, when Guillemot entities acquired more than 4 million shares of Ubisoft with the money from Tencent. In our view, recent delays of certain titles they are creating uncertainty amongst investors is beneficial for the Guillemot and Tencent in order to acquire more shares at even discounted valuation. Ubisoft, blah, 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 blah. This is all conspiratorial, to be clear. Okay, this is all very conspiratorial. But if you see a lot of smoke, if you feel the heat, if you smell the burning plastic, sometimes it's just a bunch of unrelated stuff. Other times, though, it just means there's a fire. Sometimes it is what it looks like it is. They go on. Mark Rubin was informed of the shutdown of ExDefiant only 1 week before the official shutdown announcement, and some developers were not notified until the day before the official announcement. Their shutdown was never a player count issue. In fact, during ExDefiant's whole post-launch cycle, player counts never fell below 5,000 concurrent players across all platforms. 2 weeks before ExDefiant's official shutdown statement went out, ExDefiant saw a substantial increase in player count with an average of between 9,000 and 17,000 players, and peaked at 21,000 during Thanksgiving from November 27th through December 2nd for the Double XP event. At one point, ExDefiant had a higher concurrent player count than Rainbow Six Siege. So the suggestion is that Ubisoft, even though ExDefiant had potential, is shutting it down because they want that stock price to continue dropping. And whether this is the Guillemot family doing this or if it's Tencent is unclear, but Tencent, they are corporate sharks, as I've said 1,000 times. They know what they're doing. And if Tencent is looking at this and they're like, hey, guys, we bought 5% at 66 euros a share, and then we threw $300 million to you at an 80 euro valuation, and then the stock price plummeted, and then you guys scooped up, and they also benefited from this because this was the holding company that bought it up, but still, they bought those shares at 19 euros a piece. They're probably saying like, hey, we can take this over, but we're going to get it even lower. We're going to get it for a good price. And we're going to be the savior that comes in, scoops up the company from the brink of extinction. But that's where I'm at. Like, I think that there, as of right now, because of the agreements they have made, there is not really any free competition within the shareholders to bid for control of Ubisoft, because the agreements that Tencent and Ubisoft's founding family, the Guillemot family, the agreements they made basically limit control of the company unless they approve it. And they're not going to approve anybody else taking control of the company. So it's just going to stay the same or get worse. And the only people that really benefit from it getting worse is Tencent and the Guillemot family family and their holding firm. So I would not be surprised if Ubisoft continues to do weird things that don't make a lot of sense to drive the stock price even lower. And then sometime maybe next year, when the stock price hits an all-time low, they come in and they scoop it up and take it over. But the internal debate right now, the drama is that the Guillemot family wants to retain managerial control. Tencent doesn't want them to. Shocker, right? Like, I don't think they've been doing a great job. I think most of the problems at Ubisoft are a result of the leadership. But Tencent knows that. And so Tencent is like, yeah, you're useful right now because you're going to help us take control of this company. Because again, like, Ubisoft in the hands of capable managers with the IP they have, they should be worth maybe 10 to 15 billion dollars. Right now, they're worth less than 2. And that's pretty much exclusively because of managerial mishaps and incompetence. But they are potentially going to take over the company again. But the Guillemot family wants control of it. And I think what Tencent is looking at is right now they know that they hold all of the power in this debate. They have the cash. The Guillemot family does not have the cash. Guillemot family cannot buy out the company themselves. And the only people, because they made this deal with Tencent, the only group that can help them out of this situation is Tencent, because Tencent has to also agree with the takeovers and all of the stuff that's going on. So you can't get another firm to come in. They can't go back to BlackRock now and get them to buy it out with the Guillemot family. Not that BlackRock would want the Guimau family there anyways. So I think the Guimau brothers are playing some shenanigans, but ultimately I think Tencent is going to be the one that wins. And I would not be surprised at all if this saga ends with Tencent buying out Ubisoft, probably getting the Guimau family to agree to a staggered departure window, kind of like what happened with Activision Blizzard, where after a certain period, the old guard kind of left. I think that something like that probably happens. The Guimau family retires, and Tencent will slowly restructure the company. But mark my words, when Tencent takes them over, there's going to be mass layoffs because Tencent, they don't play this game. Like, Tencent's going to look at it and be like, hey, if this team of people has been working on this game for 5 years and it's gone nowhere, yeah, we're going to stop that. Like, shut it all down. We're good. Like, they're going to come in and be very cutthroat. And you could look at it and be like, that's tragic. There's going to be thousands of layoffs, which of course it is unfortunate. Those people didn't do anything wrong. It's the managers who screwed up. But the other side of it is to say, well, at least if there's 5,000 layoffs, at least they're not laying off the whole 20,000 employee company. At least the whole company isn't going belly up, right? So it's going to be interesting. But I do think that there's a lot of corporate shenanigans going on with Ubisoft. And bizarrely enough, Ubisoft's owners right now, the Guimau family, they have an interest in driving the stock price lower, amazingly enough. So it's just frankly really bizarre, but that's where we're at right now, because typically that's why executives are compensated the way they are. The reason why people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, the reason why their net worth is so directly tied to the stocks they hold is because it makes it so they want the stock price to go higher. They want the shareholders to be happy because that also will make them happy. That's also how they are going to make more money. So they aren't incentivized to do things that will cause the stock price to go down. That's kind of the whole premise of corporate America, right? But, corporate business internationally as well. But right now, because of these very specific situations and circumstances, the Guimau family actually has a vested interest in that stock price going lower, so it's easier for them to take them over, which is crazy. But that's where we are. That's where we are. So let me know in the comments and all that if you think that there's something to this conspiracy theory. I don't actually think this is much of conspiracy theory. It seems pretty clear that that's what they're doing, but time will tell if it actually works out for them. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if Tencent just keeps letting them drive the company into the dirt, and then Tencent comes in and scoops them up when they're really, really desperate. That would not surprise me at all.